Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. My name is Eric Willis,
And I'm Bob Willis.
and together we are a father and son team that answers questions about life, loss, leadership, conflict. And today, it's a topic that took us a while to really roll into. And we're going to be talking about motivation.
Imagine that.
Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm motivated.
I'm motivated. Here we go. Well, it's interesting because motivation kind of ebbs and flows, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And, in the area I deal with loss and grief, that really affects a person's motivation. In fact, I had a lady who told me after her husband died, she says, I have a severe case of the I don't want us and I don't give us. She said, I just can't get motivated. I can't get ready to go to work. I can't answer phones. I don't pay the bills. That motivation is gone. She says, my reason for motivation is gone. Her reason for living is gone in her eyes.
Yeah, and that's so important. Matter of fact, that's one of the keys to motivation is understanding your why. What is your why? Can you
exactly, yeah.
Your why? What is it that you're pursuing? What goal is in front of you? What people need you? What is your why in life?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a good way of putting it too, Eric, is who needs us to be motivated? And it may be that we need to be motivated to encourage others. After a loss in life and because of grief, we tend to turn in, of course, because we're dealing with all the emotional things. And what I encourage people to do is look for the opportunity to honor your loved one. That can motivate you to look for a way to honor them. And you look ahead at birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, instead of waiting for the very last moment and just letting those thump you as they run by, plan ahead. Plan in such a way that you can honor that person's life on that day and in that time. By doing that, we can be motivated to plan and then instantly remember their life. We can motivate ourselves that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've experienced it personally, and I have friends who have memorialized a loved one either through running races for causes or planting trees, or
right.
They basically figured out, because they knew this person so well, what this person loved to do. And they honored their memory and honored their life by doing something that that person would have enjoyed doing.
Right. That motivated them to take action. I think that's one of the keys. I may come in the evening after working and just flop into the recliner. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I'm there. All of a sudden, someone yells there's a fire in the house. All of a sudden, I have all this energy and I'm getting stuff out of the house. Something motivated me. It might have been fear. And that may be what motivates people now is fear of facing the unknown. So let's take that fear and turn it into a way of finding some courage and strength to have a plan. And I think that often is what motivates us, is actually to write some things down, have a plan. And that can cause us to be motivated because we want to see that plan fulfilled to honor that person's life.
Yep, that's beautiful, beautiful. And planning is a big piece of that. And part of the planning process is understanding yourself and understanding how you're wired. And so one of the things about motivation is there are several different types of motivation, but the most common that we're all familiar with are what's called intrinsic motivation. We're motivated from what drives us inside on emotional feeling type of level. And then extrinsic, it's the motivation on the outside, those things that drive us to pursue goals or to the tactile things that drive us. And so how are you wired when it comes to motivation? Are you more excited about the relational connections that you have and that motivates you in your life? Or are you more motivated and driven to check something off a to-do list and to get something done? And does that motivate you? So that's the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Obviously, there's much more to it, but in a nutshell, how are you wired? What motivates you? And so you can do a little exercise.
I think that's important. Yeah, that's good to find that with us as an individual is what really gets us going, what motivates us, and focus on that and look for ways to encourage us each day. You know, I'm just thinking, Eric, you are in the process of raising 5 sons. Yet
Mhm.
each one of those boys have a different personality and they're motivated in different ways. Some similarities, I'm sure, but you probably had to determine how each one of those boys was motivated to encourage them to be their cheerleader, if you would, because that give them the opportunity. But you had to be a motivator for the boys to kind of light their fuse and get them going. Did you see a difference in the boys?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing in your parenting, you have to be a student of your children. You have to
Mhm.
learn them and know them. And um, one of my favorite questions to ask the boys as they were growing up, and they're all near adulthood now, but was, how do you know that I love you? And their answer to that question gave me insight on how they were motivated and how best to come alongside. You know,
Mhm.
I know you love me when you wrestle with me. Well,
Right.
that's physical touch. That's, he's motivated by that relational connection. Um,
Right.
how do you know that I love you? Well, when you tell me and when you talk to me,
Mhm.
words of affirmation.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a powerful question you can ask to actually learn and study those that you're in a relationship with. How do you know that I love you?
Right. Let them verbalize their needs without realizing what they're doing when they make those statements. You know, when you attend the events that I'm in, that shows that you love me. Well, that's the trigger that okay, it's important for that person for me to be there. So getting feedback from them, I think, is really important. That will guide our motivation to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, how do you know? Um, how do I ask this question? It's, how do you know yourself well enough to know um, how to be loved?
Mhm. You know, what's really ironic is I got to spend 72 years with me. So I get to learn a little bit about me. And I know, you know, as a sculptor, as an artist, I have projects in mind. Even while I'm working on one project, there's another one here that's looming, and I'm thinking about it too. So that this is not a final product. I have something else to go to, and that motivates me to continue. I hope I live another 20 or 30 years, be all right with me. But I can guarantee you, the moment I die, I will die with dreams in my mind. I will still have projects going in my last breath. And so it isn't that I see this project and I check it off and say, well, that's it, and lose all the motivation. That isn't going to happen. So I think we need something to drive us who always look forward to something and have some projects in our heart.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I'm reading a book currently called Create versus Copy. And it's really challenging me on the creative side of life. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, God wired us to be creative. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
create versus copy. I'm in the introduction, so I really can't endorse it so far.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thought though, because we have the opportunity. I think we can motivate when we realize we can create something. It may not be anything more than a cupcake, but we can create something. But we also realize that when we're dealing with people's lives, we're creating a relationship. And that's the beauty of it is we can give and take in that creative process of relationships with people.
Absolutely. So, friends, how are you motivated? Let us know what you're creating. What are you looking forward to? What are you engaged in? So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Really just the questions that we can help answer for you, but we'd also love to hear um, what motivates you. So thank you for tuning in
Yep.
today. And how can they get a hold of you?
The best route would be through email, rwillis14@cox.net would be the best route to get me. You can find me on Facebook also under Bob Willis. Each morning I do a little article on grief and sex and loss. In fact, right now I'm doing a grief support group on Facebook each morning, having little portions of articles. I think it'd be valuable information for anyone dealing with loss or anyone wanting to help others in their loss. But you can find that on Facebook under Bob Willis.
Yep. And today's morning moment was about the secondary losses of life in the part two. So there's some great material, great stuff that you're putting out there. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can reach me at reclaimleadership.org, and I'll be happy to engage with you there. But
Mhm.
um, last words as we say goodbye.
Be creative. That's it. That's how you motivate. think about being creative. Look out instead of in.
Absolutely. So what is out there in front of you? Set a goal.
Yep.
And set goals in wet cement. They can move a little bit.
Right.
And enjoy the journey. Friends,
Yep.
thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, folks.